we often think of building a business. What in the world even is wealth? Because for a lot of people, different thoughts can come up when you say the word wealth. So here's really what wealth is. Wealth is your assets, whatever you own, and all the money in your bank account and all the money in your savings account or wherever else you have. So everything you own and all your money that you have minus the amount of debt that you have. And whatever that answer is at the end of that math equation, that is really how much wealth you have. And so for many people that are talking about building wealth, we often think of building a business, becoming a millionaire or a billionaire, and they start thinking about terms like income and equating that with wealth. Wealth is not going to be your income. It's going to be your assets and things like that. So there are many ways to build wealth. And as I said a second ago, building a business would be one way that you could build wealth. But many of those ways come with risk. And a lot of times the risk is losing everything that you have. Now, there is no risk-free way to build wealth, but there is one way that is a lot more safe and reliable compared to the other ways. So the reason why there's risk involved with a greater risk involved, I should say, with building a business and things like that is that it requires other elements such as time, talent, a large sum of funds that you can use to pour into that business. And of course, there's a good chance that the business could still fail even with all the time, talent, and funds that you could potentially have. And most people don't have the combination of those three things to even build a business to begin with and then use that business as a way to build wealth. So what we really need to look at is what are ways to build wealth that doesn't necessarily require talent or a large sum of money right from the beginning. And that main way of doing that is investing. So again, this is why I mentioned at the beginning that the theme here is kind of slow and steady when it comes to building wealth. So your 401ks, your IRAs, those different retirement accounts is the primary way that people build wealth in the United States because it is the most reliable and consistent ways to build wealth. What you do is you're putting in a percentage of your income every single paycheck over the span of decades and letting the stock market do its magic, compounding over time and growing into a very large nest egg. And that is the primary source of your wealth. This is why Laura and I have been pushing to get out of debt. It's not just so that it makes our budgeting a lot easier, but getting out of debt allows you to take more money to go into things like your retirement accounts that will then build wealth earlier and faster over time. They say that the earlier you invest, the more power those dollars have. They multiply quicker. That's something that I saw with the Money Guys, actually. The Money Guys had went down and did the calculations. They were saying that $1 invested in a retirement account in your 20s has like 10 times its value by the time it gets to retirement compared to $1 that's invested in your 40s. Of course, you should invest all the way through from beginning to end, but that power really comes from earlier on. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. It could just be a little bit at a time over a long span of time. And so when we think about investing, there's a couple of traps that you have to watch out for. And that is that some people try to portray these get-rich-quick schemes that can help you build that wealth very quickly without needing to do retirements and those sorts of boring things that aren't going to make you extravagantly wealthy. So, for example, some things that people will market as ways to make money very quickly is investing into gold. And they'll often talk about how the world's going to end and everything. And so then you have this gold that's going to supposedly help you out in those doomsday scenarios. The issue is that gold has not gone up in price as quickly as the stock market has. So it has been proven time and time again that if you're going to invest money and watch it grow over a long period of time and then get that value back when you need it in retirement, that the stock market is so much better than investing in gold. Some other examples is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is extremely volatile. It's got a lot of risk. You could pour a ton of money into a certain coin and then it lose its value overnight because people have decided to not value it anymore. Even the most famous Bitcoin, which is where the name comes from, right? Even the most famous Bitcoin has a very volatile price. It has shot up and down, and really COVID is what has brought its price up to where it has been at today. But there's no real inherent value to the coin on its own. If everybody today decided that the coin no longer had any value, then the coin would have no value. Whereas the stock market is tied to companies. So because Apple makes a lot of money, sells a lot of phones and different products, when we say that the stock in Apple is worth this amount, it's not just because we have made it up in our minds. It's because we can look at the numbers and say, well, Apple is $1 billion company. It has sold this many iPhones. It made this much money. So that's why it is valued at this number, instead of it just being something that comes up out of thin air. So this is why we need to avoid get-rich-quick schemes. Don't fall for those traps, because ultimately they're not going to get you where you want to go, which is trying to build wealth for retirement in the future. So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the stock market is that the stock market is accessible to everybody. You don't have to be a billionaire to build wealth on the stock market. All you have to do is put in a little bit of money every single month, and then you can buy shares, and sometimes you can just buy even portions of shares. So it's not like you need thousands upon thousands of dollars to get into the stock market, or that you can't just put in $50 a month or whatever a number that works for your budget. If you have a company match or your company offers you some sort of 401k, that's another access point to the stock market to help your money grow over time successfully. So it's a very accessible way to build wealth. The thing is, and this is why there's lots of people that don't like to talk about it, and they want to talk about gold and other things, Bitcoin and all these other things, is because the stock market's very boring. The stock market is not exactly super exciting. It's putting in money and waiting decades. It's putting in money for 30 years straight or 40 years straight and then reaping the rewards later on in life. There's no instant gratification. There's no instant success that goes with it. It's extremely boring. It's something that you only check in on maybe quarterly or every half a year and see how the number's going. And then you just keep moving on and basically not even thinking about it. You just keep putting money into it, not thinking about it, and living your life. It's extremely boring, but it is extremely successful too. The stock market has grown year over year, roughly 10% on average since its inception. Of course, it goes different averages or different growth numbers every single year. Some years it's up 20%. Some years it can retract 5% or 10%, go backwards. But regardless, when you look at the totality of the stock market, it's going up by roughly 10% over every single year. And when you are sitting there waiting decades before you ever pull a dollar out of your retirement account, you don't have to worry about stock market crashes. You don't need to worry about recessions or those types of things, because you're not planning to pull your money out anytime soon. You have time on your side. And so all you got to do is just keep grinding away, putting money into it, ignoring the numbers and just keep moving along, because you know over time it's going to bounce back and it's going to keep growing, and it doesn't really matter what the day-to-day volatility looks like, because you know that the trend is going to be about 10% growth year over year. So this gets me to my final conclusion here about wealth building the slow and steady, not so exciting way. If you haven't started investing money yet into a 401k or an IRA or something like that, then you should do that today. You know, the saying is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is to do it right now. So if you haven't started investing into a retirement account, you should do it today. Start putting money in, letting it grow over time. Don't touch it. Ignore it. Don't worry about what the stock market is doing. If it's going up and down, don't pull the money out. Just let it go. Consistently keep putting money into it, and then look at it many decades from now, and you'll see the growth that you have put into it. I've only been putting into my retirement accounts probably about 4 years now, and it is already over $20,000. And it's going to continue to grow over time. They say that the slowest part is the beginning part, so I'm not going to be too upset about it. I'm just going to keep putting money into it, letting it grow, and when I look back, it's going to be a much larger number than what it is now. The first $100,000 is usually the longest growth, but once you get past that $100,000 mark, it starts to grow much more rapidly because you are having that compounding growth over time, because that's how percentages work. And then you almost have to not even put money into your retirement account. It's just going to keep growing with or without your money. So that's what we're trying to do here with retirement, is we're just trying to build that snowball, build it, and then at some point it's going to be rolling down the hill and it's going to be unstoppable. It's just going to keep growing, and there's really nothing you can even do to stop it. So if you haven't started, now is the best time to do it, because time is your best ally. Time is your best ally. If you wait till tomorrow or wait till next year, you are missing out on potential growth that you could have, which means that you will have less wealth over time as well. So if you haven't done that, look into it, talk to your employer, or if your employer doesn't offer retirement, maybe create your own. There's Vanguard and other companies out there that you could use that have retirement accounts that you could put money into. So